Hey everybody, welcome to Formlessness, the show that's always being. This is the podcast that is always being, and today we have a very special guest, someone who I have garnered a lot of inspiration from, and who I love and respect very much. He's got a great podcast, Very Ape podcast. Check that out if you want to. It's Sean Dunn. Dun
Hey
dun
now.
dun 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 dun. Uh,
What up? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I'm uh I'm doing this from the library, from a study room in the library.
Cool.
So I'm feeling like I can't talk too loud. So we'll see how it goes.
You have to use your midnight whisper voice and it'll be good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the ASMR podcast episode.
Yeah, people love this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, just chilling out, shooting the shit. I The audio is probably not going to be great for the listeners. I got two audio interfaces yesterday because I have none, and neither of them work with my new MacBook
Mm,
because because of segregation and monopolization of information. It's
yep.
very sad.
Oh
But what
yeah.
can you do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Smoke weed.
Smoke weed. I've stopped smoking weed for the last like 2 or 3 weeks,
Really?
and yeah, I'm loving it. Having a great
Yeah.
time. My lungs are appreciating it quite a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah,
always
I don't know.
around that point. That's like the hump. Like if you can get to 2 weeks, like it's hard to go back to weed after that. Like because you feel so good and refreshed and great, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. And then whenever I ultimately do go back, I'm back on for years at a time, loving it every day. It's so great.
Yeah,
I don't
me
know.
too. I'll go like 7 years straight without taking a break and then be like, you know what, I gotta chill for a few weeks. And then I do it and then I'm back. And I've just I've just made a deal with this plant. It helps me get through life and it helps shed away like a lot of the stuff I think would be holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's currently still working for me. 11 years of smoking every day. So it's still working for me. So I
Wow.
dig it.
Yeah. You've only been smoking for 11 years.
Yeah, I'm 41 and I pretty much started when I was 30, which is
Wow.
good. It's good because I needed to not have weed while I was trying to be very ambitious and motivated and get a lot of stuff going. I don't think it
Yeah.
would have served me before I was 30. In my 30s, it served me very much so.
Mm. Yeah, I started when I was 17 and it definitely changed my life.
Mm,
And I don't know. It was very I I attribute it to uh I don't know, kickstarting my true conscious evolution, and yet it
mm,
also really disrupted my physical reality in some ways that maybe I don't know. I was like doing film stuff and I had a lot of momentum, and then I started getting sicker and sicker with this digestive anxiety,
mm.
psychosomatic, um, yeah, stuff, which was, I think, I was made aware of it through smoking weed for the first time.
Mm.
And who's to say if I would have had a successful career with that stuff just deep in my subconscious,
Yeah.
or yeah,
Yeah, I think when I think about weed, I just think of it as such like it's such a feminine energy and it's something I kind of held at bay for so long in my life, just being able to receive and acknowledge the feminine. And
yeah,
it was good. It served me like getting a lot of stuff done and getting films made and like dominating the competition, all that type of shit.
yeah,
But it was unbalanced and I was having a lot of stomach problems and just problems with anxiety and yeah,
mm,
we just came in and balanced it out, you know, the yin and the yang.
yeah,
I needed more yin energy. I was overdosing on yang energy in my 20s, and then by the time I got to my 30s, it was time to just settle it down and I think it's cool because like I'm listening to a plant, it feels like. It's listening to me and kind of getting to live in a human body through me, which is cool. But
Hmm.
I'm like listening to a plant and it's higher intelligence, and it coincides with my desire to really want to chill out, and
Yeah.
not get overreactive. I come from a very reactive, crazy, overstimulated family, and I'm kind of the person that just now I am weed, and I just calm everything down. I try to calm everyone down.
Yes. Yes. That's what's up. My environment right now is pretty overreactive in itself. So I think it's working for me not smoking weed. I feel like there's so much change in my environment constantly that I don't know, it's like I feel like I paid really close attention to my intuition and balanced those yin and yang energies in the
Hmm.
past. And weed was a huge help for that. And yet now these days I still feel like very impacted by the imbalanced conditioning of the societal construct.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I'm not quite sure, like, I feel like I was getting like a lot of flack from people in the world for being in feminine energy in the past years when I knew to do that.
Hmm.
And yeah, now I'm not sure. There's definitely rebalancing that needs to be done for me,
Yeah.
but I don't know whether I should go more into the masculine, more, I guess probably. I think I'm working on my yang.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's honestly what I'm now tuning up again. Like it's
Yeah.
been so long, like since before I like psychedelics and weed, that I'm like, who is that guy again? That like I still get a lot of stuff done. I still am making movies and commercials and podcasts and radio shows all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is something. It's this post-pandemic because just like being sedentary for a couple years, just being stuck in one place for a couple years. It's like, how did I used to do that? How did I like? I'm trying to rebuild the masculine because I overdosed on the feminine during the quarantine, and
Yeah.
I did that by just doing a lot of drugs and hanging out with babes, and
Hey, man.
you know,
That's a life.
it
Wow.
was
I
great.
can't. Yeah. But I mean, you've continued to post things throughout that. I mean, your podcast has been, I'm so grateful for it, honestly. It makes such a
Thanks.
huge difference for me to have something in the external world that reflects the things I'm thinking about. It goes so far in just my own sanity to see those uh, reflections.
Yeah, I really appreciate that because I don't know. Like Mare always says, my girlfriend Mare, she's always saying like, "Oh, people just see you being good at it and they don't feel the need to like compliment you about it or thank you for it." You know what I mean? You're just putting good stuff out and they know it and they think you know it, but it really does mean a lot when I hear people say what you're saying because I just tend to think like, all right, I'm putting out this podcast. It makes me feel good to just get a transmission out there like every 10 days or so. But more
Hmm.
and more I'm like, I doubt I resonate with anyone that listens to me. Like I'm getting more far out and kind of less in the spiritual groups think mindset.
Mm.
And so when I don't know, when it's reflected back to me that it resonates, it keeps me going. It keeps me wanting to like keep exploring new ideas and not stagnate in who I thought I was, which I think would be a big problem in my life if I didn't have a podcast, if I didn't have like a weekly demarcation of like where you at, bro.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't I don't know. Maybe I'd be more off the rails. But it does mean a lot to hear that like anyone tunes in and connects with whatever the fuck we talk about.
Yeah, pulling it down from the ethereal realms.
Yeah, no, a lot of times we'll get off there and like especially if it's the three of us, me, Cass and Mary, because we don't talk about it at all. We just like are like, okay, cool, let's do a podcast. We set all the stuff up and everything and we just go into it and we come out like, what the hell did we just talk about? Like it wasn't us.
Yeah.
Like a message came through us like only we could tune to that dial on the radio station and hear that and it just came through us and then it's crazy because then I'll hear it reflected back like someone like yourself saying like dude I feel you, I feel what you're saying, and it's really more than anything it's not a way of living, it's more like a way of seeing the world, and I think people's ways of interpreting that and applying it to their life is different.
Hmm.
But I appreciate constant reminders, and it usually comes through music and lyrics,
Hmm.
that we're not alone in this, and in our way of thinking, and our way of comprehending this world, and our way of wanting things better. That you're just not alone in it. That's why I think art's so important. Is like just feeling those different personal expressions of how we're not alone in it. So
Yes.
keep doing it. Keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Being able to communicate that intention is all that's needed to create the change, start to create it.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
most of it for me is like having my partner Cass. Like we've been together for 12 years, so I sometimes can take for granted that I just have a person next to me all the time that I'm just kind of like bouncing thoughts off of in an inconsequential way. And if something's good, if she has something good, and if I have something good, we start, to render that idea out more. And maybe this is a new way of living, maybe it's a new way of thinking about things or talking or making each other laugh. But having that such a trusted partner where I could just fully be myself all the time
Yeah.
is what makes me who I am more than filmmaking, podcasting, drugs, all this other stuff, the music. Having Cass in my life and having a partner that I trust so much uh,
Mm.
really allows me to be who I am. I have a lot of friends who talk about their partners like they're a drag, who talk about their
Hmm.
partners like they're a foreign entity that like they're warring with constantly. And I've just never seen this relationship like that. So it helps me a lot. It helps me see things, I think, from a higher perspective sometimes and not get too
Yeah.
caught up in reactionary.
Yeah.
And uh, yeah, I
What do you
think that's
think?
what makes the podcast interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you, how did you create that in your life? What do you think allows you to experience that sort of relationship and your perspective that
Yeah.
continues it being something like that?
Well, I've had other relationships that didn't work out, and I've learned from those. And same thing with Cass. And
Mm.
it felt like from the second we met each other that it was an investment, like something we wanted to invest in and commit to. And I've been through a lot of trauma and grief, especially like in my teens and 20s or early 20s. So
Yeah.
those things kind of put you, I don't know, they put me in touch at least with my desires and my desire system. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's what allowed me to even receive Cass's love and be available for it and meet her in a place that's good. So I think it's that. It's like it's what I've been through, it's what she's been through, but it's also like a commitment to like what I was just saying. Like I'll have friends that talk shit about their partners. It's all good. Like we all need to vent, whatever.
Mm.
But we don't like we don't want to do that. We don't want to put negative vibrations out there about each other. We don't want to unnecessarily, poke at each other or get under each other's skin. So I don't know. I think it
Mm.
came from experience. It came from like I'm saying, the trauma putting you in touch with your desires, and then just being able to kind of like imagine a better reality for yourself, and slowly but surely you get there. And we're both very grateful people. Every day we pray and we're grateful, and we're just really in that frame of mind constantly, and it helps from becoming bitter and pessimistic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Uh, how much that stuff reflects back immediately into our reality. I'm
Oh,
learning how to do that myself, like connect all the way to my desires. I've been doing this podcast, but it's like I haven't really been doing it much this year. And um yeah, I've been learning how to like complete that cycle, go the full circle of having a desire, creating it, finishing it, allowing myself to be connected with that original inspiration feeling throughout the whole process,
yeah.
through the tough navigating of whatever is needed to create it, and just staying true to that original feeling.
Yeah,
Um,
and I feel like if you can do it on a small level with like an art project or whatever, you can start to do it for your whole life, which is the big project, the ultimate sermon,
yes,
the way you
yes,
live your life, the way you feel,
yes,
and those things are important to me. Though like that's like at the top of my list of what's of like, you know,
Yeah.
Do we feel good? Are we happy? You know, do we feel grateful? Can we access gratitude? Can we
Mm,
access joy?
mm,
And if those things seem like out of touch, something's out of alignment, and it's
mhm,
usually that we're unrested or overworked or
mhm.
not exercising and meditating. It's very what I've realized is just very, very, very simple things keep me on track at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, very simple things. It's just like you gotta meditate, you have to exercise, you have to be grateful, like
Yeah.
simple, simple things. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm realizing more and more that like the imagination, my own imagination and the imagination of everybody around me has so much of an impact on those on how I'm feeling. Well, first of all, how I'm feeling seems to be immediately represented in my physical reality moment to moment. If
mm,
I if I'm in public, I take a moment to breathe and meditate, and I genuinely shift my emotional state. And I open my eyes. I'm in a totally different reality.
absolutely.
But the opposite is also true, where it's like I was having a really great morning, and now I'm in this library, which is like in a certain part of town, and there's certain there's all these kind of people here, and the vibes are bad, and I feel that, and
Mm.
I wow yes.
Well, what I would say in that situation is like the vibes aren't bad. They just needed you. It needed another ingredient, The
Wow, yeah.
cauldron was not it wasn't complete yet, It needed to
Yeah,
bring
hey.
so like, we learned this from this beautiful spiritual teacher, musician guy, Laraji. You ever listen to Laraji?
No, I've never heard
Oh, you
of
should,
that.
you should check him out. He's really
Laraji,
cool.
okay.
Yeah, he's
How do you
legendary.
spell it?
Lariji.
Okay.
Um, he's incredible, and we went and saw him live, and he was giving a whole speech about. I'm gonna do a terrible job, but basically what it comes down to is don't show up to the party, show up as the party. Show up wherever you
Yeah.
are going as the vibe that you wish to see there. Don't show up expecting that thing. Show up as it. So
Yeah.
a little like flip of the switch on consciousness on how you arrive to things and the attitude that you bring in to a certain situation. And I think
Hmm.
it just allows for a more of a sense of purity about things and less like expectations that aren't being met and the consumerist, mindset of things are products and why isn't this setting off all those stimulations
Yeah.
and more
Yeah.
of like I am those chemicals. I am the vibe this place needed. I'm the light, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah. Bringing it
For
back
me,
to
a
the
lot of times,
self.
for me, a lot of times it's chillness. I'll go into situations that feel like coffee or Adderall energy, and I'm like, this is too much for me. I don't really party like that. So
Yeah.
I'll start. I'll talk a little lower, a little slower. I'll mind my own, this kind of thing. And you just watch it like the vibe react to you now being in the mix, and it's a
Hmm.
really cool thing. And I don't know, it just makes me it's all like little hacks on consciousness to get out of the victimhood mentality because it's so bred into us from
Hmm.
such a young age and we're all just such critics out there just, trying
Hmm.
to release those like dopamine chemicals. So just I don't know, just not going around as like a complaining little bitch and more just like I am whatever the vibe is, I'm part of it or I could make it better if it's bad, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that also is like acknowledging the truth of the moment. For me, it's like I want to be in good vibes, but
Hmm.
I also have to uh, face and acknowledge the feelings of the moment and express them
Yeah.
in order to release them and
Oh,
you
dude.
know
Yeah, I mean that goes back to what I was saying about having Cass. We'll go into a place and I'm like, no, absolutely not. Can't do this. We're not doing this and shit. And if I'm being like that, like one of us is always grounded down in reality and can bring it back. But if
Mhm.
I'll go into a place like, nah, we're not doing this. Can you get us out of here? Can we keep this quick? Can we do all this bringing anxiety to a moment? And she'll just a lot of times just be like, "Oh no, come on! This is a chance to see our old friends, and like this is a chance to sit to meet their kids and whatever. They're playing stupid music. They're playing kids' music. Like, like whatever, it's funny. Like, and that's a big one. That's a big one for me at least, because Cass and I always made the pact that things should feel fun and funny, and if they don't, we should start working on that.
Yeah.
So, if something like bringing stuff around to this is funny is one of those little hacks that takes you out of victimhood mode, and just puts you in like a bird's eye perspective of things and looking for the humor in something as opposed to looking for the victimhood. And
Yeah.
a great example is like I'll go to restaurants with my family and like, man, they're a nightmare to be at restaurants with. They'll terrorize the wait staff. They're just waiting for somebody to fuck up. And
Ugh.
I'll go in there, like I can get very stressed out about being around that or being around just that whole thing. So I'll just try to bring it into humor and like, oh, isn't it funny that they forgot our thing? Isn't that so classic and funny that they always forget to do this one thing, or of course they're going to do this, or we were waiting for the other shoe to drop and of course it does. Like just trying to bring it back to some sort of humor, and you
Yeah.
need humility to have humor. You need humility to access humor. So
Yeah.
it's a really good practice, I think.
Yeah. I get so serious
Me
because,
too.
and we do because part of it for me, one of the tricks that I'm trying to access to flip that script is to just realize like, I don't have to deny the reasons why I'm feeling this way. A lot of the times I feel upset or angry, frustrated. It's because of real things I can see going on, and I want to change them, and I want to acknowledge them and communicate them. But uh, yeah, there's ways to do that that are light and that are
Yeah.
funny and that release the tension in ways that um, don't have to don't have to I don't know keep that vibe so heavy.
Yeah, right. I mean, one of them, like the final boss for me was like politics.
Yeah,
And just like that was probably like the last thing I was really holding on to is like something. It's like no, it's not funny. People need help. We need to change things. People are suffering this and that, which is all true.
yeah,
Which is all true. What I can do about it beyond just change my own opinion and see things for what they are is actually very little. So why am I going to waste a lot of energy on something that I really, it's meant to outrage me. All of it, it's
yeah,
meant to belittle and make me feel small and outraged and angry and helpless and hopeless. Why am I playing around in that system? Why aren't I just laughing at it? So that was a tough one to deprogram. The
yeah,
political side of things, just wanting to get in that right and wrong and left and right conversation, and it's all bullshit,
yeah,
at least
yeah.
from my perspective.
No, it is. I think it's set up to be that way. It's
Hmm.
just it's anything that creates it's the same thing with queer culture where it's like uh as long as queer culture is a place where it's like there's a separation between straightness and queerness, it's just set up to be divisive and
Exactly.
segregatory. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
we're all different,
And
we're all the same.
I'm not like deep like oh there's a cabal of people somewhere making these choices. I just think it's the inevitable product of the system that we're in. Everything
Yeah.
this is what our last podcast is about. We just talked about the commodification of everything. As it comes into the ethers, it's already being whittled down into a product or something that's meant to divide us and something that's meant to say you are and you're not and to become some exclusionary thing. So
Yeah.
it's all very I got caught up in it for a while, all the identity politics stuff, and I'm over it. I'm beyond over it. I don't think it helps. I don't think it's helping. I don't think it's serving anyone on any side of it, to
Yeah.
just come up with more nuanced ways to divide us and this and that. And look, it's not to say I'm not aware of the issues or the oppression or the exploitation and the subjugation that goes on, but those are inevitable products of the system we're in. So you have to change the system we're in, and that's where it becomes very daunting. And that's where it comes down to like, well, what can I do? What
Right.
can I do about this? Well, I could start to change all my habits. I can start to change the way I see the world. And I can start living in alignment with who I really am, which is revolutionary in itself these days. And you start to do that, that idea spreads if you make it look good. That can spread, and more people want to get in alignment with who they are. Trust me, it's not going to be with the system we're currently in, so something's
Yeah.
bound to change. And that's why I do hold out hope that things could change pretty quickly and could change overnight.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I do hold out hope for that.
I think it's
But
happening. I mean, it's like you're saying, it's like I think we're all learning, whether we're conscious of it or not, we're learning how to bring new energy into situation, use our life force to generate life force instead of being entangled with these old thought patterns that
yeah,
just reciprocate themselves.
yeah, old, just worn out paradigms that like literally didn't work for our parents and grandparents. I don't know why would it be expected to work for us when we're more aware and more connected, more conscious than ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's bound to change in that sense.
Yeah, and it is if it can feel like there's like a big inner it can it can feel like there is some other force that's there that is going against what is right or what is life-giving.
Yeah.
And
And the scary thing about that force is it's not always like showing up to battle the way we do. All that force has to do is kind of create like a mist of confusion that we're all stuck in, and
yeah,
misinformation, and it's the same way that we fight wars now. Like this country doesn't go into a war trying to win a war. There's nowhere to win a war anymore. We just have to create disturbances. That's it. And
mm,
like that's the thing is what prevents us from getting organized and prevents us from changing things is that just the confusion fog.
yeah,
And,
which
and that
doesn't
that
really exist. It just influences us to be, if we tune into it, then we do less fun and good things in the
we
day.
just become smaller. We become smaller. We become in the scarcity mindset that has us being fucking wage slaves out there. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I hate to see life whittled down to that. Like, how do you monetize your labor, and how do you seek comfort and all this stuff? Because it's like, there's so much more to life than that. But what the system is going to produce in most people is the feeling that they better behave, or they're going to end
Yeah.
up in prison or homeless. And
Yeah.
that's why we have the biggest homeless population in the world here and the biggest prison population in the world here. Even though we come nowhere near to having the most people overall, we have those biggest populations just to serve as an example of don't get out of line. And it works on most people. It hypnotizes us into behaving a certain way, and it shrinks us, and it shrinks who we are and what we're meant to be. And that's why there's a huge epidemic of despair, depression, overdoses, these kind of things. They can all be traced back to that. Just this
Yeah.
system not serving us anymore, and a change needs to happen. It's like a bad relationship. You end up staying in bad relationships longer than you would care to. It's what we're doing with this thing. It's like it's in its death rattle,
Yeah.
but we need to just cut the cord with it. But that requires individuals doing it and individuals showing the way, and then more and more people get on board, and things can be better. I
Yeah.
do hold out hope that things could be better and should be better.
Yeah. And I think the perspective of it being inevitable is a good way to generate the inspiration
Yeah.
to take that step. Because I really think it is, because it's just like the more that time goes on, the more clear it is from a purely logical, pragmatic, scientific uh, perspective that like breaking things apart into separate groups just destroys energy, and
Hmm.
allowing things to flow between all nodes in an unbroken flow. It's like that creates equality, that creates equilibrium,
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about on the micro and macro level because
Hmm.
yeah, like we're like exactly breaking us into ever nuanced little groups or whatever does impede a certain flow, but we're all expected to behave under laws that apply to 400 million people here. It's like it's kind of
Yeah.
a crazy thing to expect from people. And
Yeah, and it's already, I mean, it's just totally dysfunctional already. So there's a
mhm.
lot of space to like walk and move with through that, just because it's such a slow moving system,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
There's more
Yeah,
and
it's
more
a
space.
It's a like a picture like a huge ship and what it takes to redirect a ship and how to make a ship change course. It's like that. It,
Yeah.
it it takes thinking about it, and it takes a lot of people to do it. And
Yeah.
we're definitely on our way, just for the simple fact of like we all just went through collective trauma and we are currently still going through with this pandemic, and just
Yeah.
how left hung out to dry we are, I think whether people are talking about it yet or not in this way. It's a big moment of collective awakening,
Hmm.
because it just showed how much our government is not there for us, and they're not serving the people, they're serving the oligarchs, and that's where all of our money was just transferred to. And
Yeah.
it's disaster capitalism. You can't let a good disaster go unexploited. And that's what just happened to us. And like as a small business owner, like we're fucked. Me and Cass are fucked. We're in debt for the first time in our lives, and
Mm.
that didn't have to be the case. And I think a lot of people went through something like that in one way or another, and they'll wake up to it. And that stuff can serve to change things for real, because it fucks with the way you thought things were, and it starts to take you out of that like coddled innocence that this country
Yeah.
wants you to believe it is, and it's not. It's a brutal fucking meat grinder.
Yeah.
And that woke me up, and that's what I'm saying is reawakening the more masculine side of things for me. My yang energy is coming more online because I'm in a more desperate situation because of this pandemic now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's cool. It's cool. I can do it. I'm a little bitter about it because I just felt like my natural evolution is just to let go and let go
Yeah.
more and accept more. But
Right.
now I have to get in there and manhandle my life and
Yeah.
make money again and get out of debt. And it's cool. It's cool. Some really cool art will come out of it for us.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta keep that vibe in my body high with
Yep.
and navigate without getting lost in the feminine when I'm not in my own environment, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's, I think about you ever hear of the word Merkaba?
Oh yeah, what is that?
I don't know. I'm probably not saying this right, but it's like an auric shield, I think, that everyone has around them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I need like a really thick, powerful Merkaba in order to navigate the world. And sometimes,
Yeah.
like when you take acid, it feels like you just shed that thing, and it's why you feel the oneness with everything, because your natural protection, all the fears kind of shed away or get amplified and burnt out and then shed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about my Merkaba a lot and how I'm using it and when I need it most, and how to
Hmm.
recharge it and all those kind of things. I think it's a good thing to be aware of, that you
Yeah.
have that, and you have it. It's in the form of your personality. Really, that's probably the best way to personify it. Is like you have a personality that the world gets greeted with to protect you, to protect your sensitive heart. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
like to
it's
think
true.
about that, and that's why I'm so fascinated with documentary and the way we make documentary, and how raw it is to see that, to see how people react to us, to strangers who are asking them questions, to a camera that's going to capture this moment forever, and see how their Merkaba reacts, and just I love all that stuff. Like that's the stuff. Like my films are meant to do the opposite of identity politics. It's meant to show like, yeah, no, yeah, you might be from here, you might be black, white, Asian, whatever, gay, straight, something, trans, I don't know. We're all the same. We're all the
Yeah.
same. Check this
Yeah.
out. Check this
Yeah.
out. You're a juggalo. I bet you didn't realize you're a juggalo. Watch this. I didn't. That's how I learned. So it's yeah, that's stuff that like I think fuels a lot of our work. And the podcast is like us in real time, like figuring out who we are. And it's like I'm saying, it's not, some people might approach their podcast with much more thought out things that they want to, like much more tightened up, edited type way of
Mm-hmm.
speaking. We're literally coming up with those ideas on the spot and exploring them for the first time right then and there, figuring out who we are. And
Yeah.
that's cool. And the films are kind of more the yang energy of like, here's how I see the world. I got some good examples of it. I'm going to edit them together in a way that make you feel the way that I felt when I went on that trip and went to
Mm.
meet those people. And hopefully it'll aliven in you that sense that you can let your Merkaba down a little and just
Yeah.
connect to anyone.
Right. And that's the thing. The paradox is like when you have when you can create conscious energetic boundaries for yourself, you actually can become more intimate and more open through that. I think that's
Yeah,
going on. I've been noticing that so much just in life the last couple of weeks. Like the what I mean, it's just like a physiological thing. Like when you don't feel that able to create that boundary for yourself, it triggers the nervous system. The body goes into fight or flight mode. The
yeah.
immune system starts reacting, you know,
Hmm.
and being able to, yeah, to have a strong auric field and yet, uh, yeah, be able to build it up and tear it down
Yeah,
at
still feel
will.
connected even though it's there and it's protecting you. And you know, it's something I think about a lot too. You know, being into psychedelics and see so many people like rave about like ego death. Have you ever had ego death? Are you trying for ego death? And like that's the goal or something like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's terrifying work if that's what you're out there doing with these things." And it's like I guess I've experienced ego death, but what I've learned from experiencing ego death is how useful that thing is, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Let's talk about going too much into the feminine, like the whole
Yeah.
asceticism idea of like you have to kill your ego, you have to. I did that when I was younger, and it's
Yeah.
like it did me no service. It's
It's not
just
all it's
another form
cracked
of
up to be.
self-hate. Yeah,
Well, it's another way of saying rebirth, I guess. But like and it is
yeah,
self-hate because like you were already born and developed all those things. Like
yeah,
what I'm trying to do with psychedelics is figure out what my ego is and what it's made of. Like figure out like the the programming behind it. And it's usually traumas. And like
yeah,
why do I behave that way? And is that behavior useful to me?
yeah,
So it's like instead of ego death, it's more like ego training. It's like cross training. It's like let me take this fucking acid. I'm gonna take so much acid that this thing is gonna seemingly go away, but it's not going away permanently. It's just giving me a bird's eye view on the thing, so I could say like, is that useful to me, or like, why was I being like that, or whatever. And like, sometimes it's violent. The first time I took mushrooms, it was like it was violent lessons, you know, from a crazy ass teacher and like a flood, a tidal wave of feminine energy like I'd never experienced to the point where I was like, all right, fine, I'll never eat an animal again. I'll
yeah. Oh my
my
God.
family. I'm gonna be a sweet boy now. I'm done with the fucking hyper masculine, fucking New York City dominating type of personality. Like, and you know that
Hmm.
was 9 years ago. That was
Mm.
9 years ago, and I'm still kind of living in alignment with that like shock to the system. And I'm trying to train my ego to work more with those messages because I believe in those messages more than anything. It just felt like it came from a higher intelligence, a higher version of me that knows better, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Mushrooms for me are still. I'm kind of freaked out by them. I don't
Yeah.
like acid and weed. I've taken them in various doses and forms to the point where I feel like I'm like good pals with
Yeah.
those energies. But mushrooms, I guess I just got to do them more. They they're you never know. You never
Yeah.
quite know what's gonna what the
Yeah.
trip's gonna be.
I'm the same way, and I made the same decision you're talking about. I just was like, you know what? Like, because it has been such the teacher that's changed my life the most of all the psychedelics is the mushroom, and it was
Yeah.
the first one. And it's helped me so much, but I was so scared of it for so long, so scared to revisit and like take my medicine and get my lessons again. And then at
Hmm.
some point I just decided like I'm not afraid of these anymore. I'm not going to be afraid of these anymore. Like
Mm.
let's not be scared. And what I found really there was one epic trip, and I'm not sure if you heard our podcast called Death by Soma.
I don't remember.
It's going back like a year and a half now, but basically we took a combination of Syrian rue and penis envy mushrooms, and apparently that's what's like soma was like all that stuff you hear in the old myths. You know, people talking about this ancient psychedelic soma. That's
Right.
apparently what it
Okay.
was.
Okay.
So we take this, and I've never tripped so hard in my life and I like it healed me. It made me friends with the mushroom. Like it didn't feel like I was a visitor with it anymore, or she was an unwanted teacher in my life. It just felt like we're homies now. Like we can chill. And I haven't been scared of mushrooms ever since. And I've taken a lot more, especially in microdose form.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and they help me always when I take a microdose or two. They're always my best days
Yeah.
and you know everything just feels more alive and flowing. So Yeah, I just had to make
Yeah.
a choice and sit down with the mushrooms and say, I'm not scared anymore. Please don't make me be scared anymore. And we kind of came to an agreement together, and we're good now.
Yeah.
Which thank God, because it's the one I need more than anything. I probably need mushrooms more than I need weed in my life, really.
Mm.
They keep me on track and keep me humble, and that's the whole thing. We don't like getting humbled, and
Yeah.
it's been pointed out to me, and I've noticed it anecdotally how much men say what we're saying about mushrooms and how they prefer acid, they prefer this, they
Oh,
prefer that. Whereas
really?
women, most of the women I take mushrooms with, they're not scared. They take as much, if not more than me, and they have a better time.
Yeah.
Like because they're used to dealing with that. They're used to dealing with things. They're used to dealing with a period. They have a
Yeah.
built-in painful time of the month. Like we have no bodily form of that, so we have to seek our pain through wars and conflict and domination, and like we have to
Yeah.
like they have it built into their body. And I
Yeah.
think the mushroom just works with them a little easier, whereas we're like, what the fuck is this? And we're our instinct
Right.
on everything is like put your dukes up.
Yeah.
So, and that fight is not fun. You're not going to win that fight. You're not going to win
No.
that. You're either going to fucking lose that fight and never take mushrooms again. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I don't try to fight it. I just say, all right, I need this. I need this to really kind of strengthen my Merkaba and allow me to function in this world that's getting crazier and crazier and faster and faster.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It changes the physicality like nothing else. Mushrooms just
Yeah.
like building things into the body from nothing. It's
Mm,
miraculous.
that's a good way of putting it, for sure.
That's how I feel for sure.
And like, I know there's studies on this and everything, but like it feels like it's doing something with your neuroplasticity. It feels like it's connecting parts of the brain that often don't fire together. So they don't
Yeah.
really know that much about each other. And like, I don't know, it seems like a trivial thing, but it's the best example I can think of. When I take mushrooms, once I get past through the like, holy shit, I'm in the fetal position, I'm a mess, whatever. Once I pass that first like hour or so, I am the funniest I've I could be. Like everything converts into just like a punchline that just fires on all cylinders, and I'm like, that I love. And I love it. I love that more than anything. Just tapping into that, like cracking a whole room up or just myself and just realizing like, wow, like I'm funny, I'm creative. I know how to, because to me that's one of the highest ideals in life. If you can take in all of this madness and be
Hmm.
laughing about it, it's a very
Hmm.
special thing. So, I really appreciate that aspect of mushrooms, and they do it to me more than any other drug. I feel funny. With weed, other things are funny. With mushrooms, I'm the one. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is
right. That's
hilarious.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
fucking so funny right now. And it's not like I'm annoying cokehead talking everyone's head off or whatever, but like if there's a
Yeah.
punchline to be had, my brain knows it. And it knows 20 of them. And I'll just fucking just be, I love that. I love that. So, it's funny because it counterbalances that beginning part of the trip, like where I'm like, I
Right.
don't think I can function. I can't do anything ever again. I can't be trusted.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What do you think? We're gonna make it to the fifth dimension by the end of the
I mean,
year?
I mean, I don't know what that looks like collectively, or I know that I feel like I've surfed those dimensions, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely interdimensional in that sense because it's a hard thing to maintain. It feels like you just like kind of naturally flow
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. It's
Collectively, it
true.
would be very interesting to see how we'd function like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're on the cusp of it, at least where I am. Um, it's just the realization of people. It's all the stuff we've been talking about. Like we can, through self-awareness evolution, realize that what we are and see ourselves from a universal perspective in a way where we feel connected to everybody else.
Mm,
We feel equal to everybody else, but not in a way that like triggers the ego, not in a way that removes a level of freedom of expression or
yeah.
diversification of self or anything like this, but just like that clear perception that just makes things so efficient and so functional and allows energy to flow so well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Have you ever been to like a hippie music festival or like a Grateful Dead concert or anything like that?
Yeah, I used to go to a lot of like folk and bluegrass festivals, which
Like
are,
how it feels when
yeah,
you're there. Like there's not gonna be a fight right now. No one's gonna steal anything from it. And if there is, it's just dealt with by the energy,
right.
you know? And it feels like we could tap into that collectively. It just to me, I guess what it would look like on a collective level is us all just saying, let's drop the bullshit. And to me, the bullshit is dead. Like no one owes
Yeah,
anyone anything. Like let's just
yeah,
look out for each other. You know,
yeah,
like, let's clear the books. No one
yeah,
has any money, and no one owes anyone any money.
yeah,
Like let's just start from there. What do you got? What can you grow? What can you offer to the scene? You know, what kind of vibes are you bringing? What kind of music can you make? Those kind of things. And like I always think of it feeling like well, when I think of this, I always call it our psychedelic socialist future. I always
mm,
feel like it just could feel like I've never been to Burning Man and I don't really care to go there, but like probably what that feels like, just symbiotic celebration, people constantly learning things, like the feeling like
yeah,
your education doesn't end, the learning
yeah,
never stops. So like the whole world feels like a continuing education course, and just
right.
like how to get better at things, how to be more efficient at things, how to be more expressive, you know, how to deal with your
Yeah,
traumas, and just like everyone just learning more, and just the emphasis becoming more on education and learning and shedding all of those old uptight dominator mentality type of things.
yeah.
Could happen, and I hold out hope that it will, you know.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I feel like it's the only way for
Yeah.
more life to come through.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's, yeah, it feels so good to be in an abundant state where everybody is expressing themselves super fully. It's like exposure therapy where like you work through everything so quickly just because there's so much being processed. It's so good. And it's like
Yeah.
all the way society is currently set up is like the exact opposite. It's like keeping things slow, keeping things disconnected,
Mm.
trying to point people's perception into their own little box so they don't see how their lives are affecting everyone else around them. And like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like you're not aware, we're not aware of like our footprint here. We're not aware of the ripple effects that our negativity puts out into the universe. And like think about that
yeah,
sometimes is like all the anger and the wars and all the fucking nonsense and everything. It's like the same angry ripple from the beginning of time that just keeps getting we're still dealing with it. We're still dealing with just like conflicts that are just ages old, and just existential conflicts with ourselves and with our neighbors and all this stuff that like it's still the same ripple. It's not a new idea. And I think just even an awareness of that could maybe break our fucking addiction to warring. It's just like,
yeah,
aren't we over this? Haven't we done this? Haven't we seen that this never leads to anything good? No war ever leads to anything good. Can't we do better than this? Like, aren't we bored with this way of doing things? Aren't we
yeah,
bored with dealing with that angry fucking ripple effect from the beginning of time? Can't we fucking send another one out? You know, a different signal that can ripple through time other than war, don't trust your neighbor, don't trust people that aren't the same sex, same race, same identity as you. Like, fuck all this shit.
yeah,
We know it's not true. We know it's not true, but we just keep allowing propaganda from the war machine to keep us in that mindset. You know, and every American that comes out of our education system, whether they know it or not, is deeply indoctrinated into that warring mindset. And it
yeah,
fucks up every part of our life, you know, and
yeah,
people do a lot of weird things to feel at home in this fucking planet
yeah,
because of our indoctrination through our education. And it's a sad thing, but once you become aware of it, it's kind of funny. And then the deprogramming starts and the re-education starts, and it's cool. It's a
yeah,
cool thing, you know. It's a rebirth.
yeah. Building up what is it? What's the word?
Merkaba.
Merkaba. Yeah, I didn't know how much people are conditioned to try and manipulate each other and like, see other people's weaknesses and play on those and try and get the high ground and always be top status. And I didn't have any sort of energetic boundaries for so long, but through this whole process of the last few years, really, even these days, I'm starting to just think of COVID as like purely a boundary thing where it's all about that masculine energy of
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna stay in my own zone, I'm gonna stay in my own vibe, I'm not gonna get entangled with this other
Yeah.
stuff and lose my momentum.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can't spell masculine without mask.
Oh shit. Yeah.
No, it's really true, and it really it fucking put all that stuff into hyperdrive, and just I mean, just the level of paranoia. I see it burnt that out in me because it's a level of
Right.
paranoia that I'm like, nothing's worth it. Nothing's worth it. Being
Yeah.
that paranoid, washing groceries, holding my breath behind a mask, being scared to go in grocery stores, scared to have people over, scared to talk to me. Like, there's nothing that could make me that paranoid again. It's
Yeah.
just, I burnt out all of that stuff, and a lot of people did, I think, for better or for worse. But it's going to be hard to dupe us on that level again. That we need to stay separate. That's the
Yeah.
solution to anything.
Yeah.
It's separate. Like,
Right.
okay, right. Not come together. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, it triggers the deepest psychic fear of uh, social exile, and I
Hmm.
think the only choice really is to burn that out, and potentially in the future, that is making uh, so many people completely um, unaffected by any of these mechanisms of social control and fear and all these things, and I think it's
That's what'll
great.
be interesting about the future is like we just went through this. That's what'll be interesting at least about these generations that cognizantly went through this is like, yeah,
Yeah,
we're completely
dude.
untrusting of anything, you know.
Yeah.
Anything they serve us up, we're gonna just is gonna be met with just an eye roll. And I think that's cool. I think we should have probably been in that mode a lot sooner, you know.
Yeah, well, it's the metaphor of just looking inward towards the self, how you feel in the moment, and trusting that above everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Reconnecting with the heart space.
Yeah, yeah, gotta do it. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. For me, singing, dancing, moving, that's the best way.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm trying to
Yep.
create more environments where that is set up to be appropriate because it's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to find those places. And
Hmm.
it's really miraculous what can be done when you create those for people and for
Oh,
yourself.
absolutely. I think that's what a lot of like I'm making this movie Wooks about
Oh
hippies,
yeah.
so I'm going to a lot of their festivals and stuff like that, and you could see it's all been commodified, but that's what it started out as, like people getting together and just creating space for them to be freaks together, and then like slowly but surely, the corporations realize how profitable that is, and they get their hands in the whole thing, and it becomes $800 experience for a weekend of just really kind of just hanging out with like-minded homies. So
Yeah.
that's what we try to do with Space Camp. We try to do a gathering every now
Oh
and then,
yeah.
like cheap or free, where we could just get together and take some acid and hang out.
Yeah.
You should
Dude.
come to Space Camp.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that happens, and I hope we can connect in the physical
Yeah.
space. So much. I feel like for me, I just feel so sensitive to the energy of my environment, and I notice how much my physical body shapeshifts to represent the overarching energies of the space I'm in. It's wild. More and more, I'm noticing it, like how much we're all just like processing the same energy through our different bodies, and
Yeah.
how real
Yeah,
that is.
there's some people like yourself and myself that are like just much more sensitive to it, and
Yeah.
I think it's ultimately a skill.
Yes. Yeah. It's that skill of balancing the masculine and feminine.
Yeah,
Being able to really have that space inside the body of peace and spaciousness to metabolize and process, but also to be able to move and direct the body to release that energy and
hmm hmm
keep it clean.
absolutely. I love that.
Fuck yeah. Nice, dude. Well, is there anything you want to plug for my 5 listeners?
Watch our movie American Sunset. That's the latest movie that I made. It's on YouTube
Dude.
for free. Just
Yes.
Google it out.
Yeah, it's all about mushrooms, really.
Yeah, it is. It's about and we weren't in people's face about it. So the movie itself is meant to kind of be a mushroom and feel like a mushroom experience. So enjoy that and leave a comment. And really appreciate you having me on, man. This
Hey,
was awesome.
thanks.
I'll do it
Nice.
anytime.
Great. Yeah, nice talking. I'll see you when I
Cool,
see
brother.
you.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Peace
Peace and love.
later. Peace and love.